The draft boards are already taking shape for 2026, and Bears Nation, the projections coming out right now, are painting a fascinating picture of where our franchise could be headed next April. What's up, Chicago? Welcome back to Bears News Fan Report, your ultimate destination for everything Chicago Bears, where I bring you the latest breaking news, exclusive insights, and comprehensive analysis on our beloved team. I'm here to deliver the information you need to stay ahead of the curve, understand the strategic decisions being made in Halas Hall, and get a glimpse into the future of this franchise as we continue building toward championship contention. Today I've got something special for you. A deep dive into early draft projections that not only reveal where scouts and analysts think the Bears could be picking come next spring, but also what kind of player profile the organization might target to continue strengthening this roster. I'm talking about edge rushers, defensive playmakers, and the kind of talent that could transform our defense into an elite unit capable of carrying us deep into the playoffs. But this isn't just about the Bears, because to understand where we fit into the draft landscape, we need to look at the entire first round, see what teams ahead of us are doing, understand which premium positions are being prioritized, and identify which players might still be available when we're on the clock. So stick with me through this entire breakdown, because I promise you're going to walk away with a complete understanding of how the 2026 draft class is shaping up and what it could mean for the Chicago Bears moving forward. Let me start by setting the context for where the Bears are as an organization right now. We've been through a significant rebuild over the past few years, investing heavily in young talent, building through the draft, and creating a foundation that we believe can sustain success for years to come. We've got our quarterback situation sorted out. We've added weapons on offense, and we've started to see real progress on the defensive side of the ball. But championship teams are never finished building. They're constantly looking for ways to add talent, address weaknesses, and stay ahead of the competition. That's why, even though we're still in the middle of this current season, the scouting department is already hard at work, evaluating college prospects, attending games, breaking down film, and building draft boards for next year. The 2026 draft class is loaded with talent at premium positions, and the Bears are going to have an opportunity to add another impact player who can contribute immediately and grow into a cornerstone piece of this roster. Now, one of the most comprehensive mock drafts for 2026 just dropped, and it's giving us a detailed look at how the first round could potentially shake out. This isn't just some random projection thrown together for clicks. This is a thoughtful analysis that takes into account team needs, positional value, player rankings, and the strategic decisions that franchises are likely to make based on their current roster construction. The mock draft reveals some fascinating trends that are emerging in how teams are approaching roster building in today's NFL. Quarterbacks are dominating the top of the draft as always, with teams making aggressive moves to secure their franchise signal callers. But beyond the quarterback position, there's a clear emphasis on premium defensive players, edge rushers, cornerbacks, and playmakers who can change games on that side of the ball. Teams are recognizing that in an era where offense gets all the headlines, having an elite defense is still the most reliable path to sustained success and championship contention. Let me walk you through some of the most significant picks at the top of this mock draft because they set the stage for everything that follows. The New York Jets make the boldest move of the entire first round, trading up to the number 1 overall pick to select quarterback Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. That's a franchise desperately trying to solve their quarterback problem once and for all, willing to pay whatever price necessary to get their guy. The Las Vegas Raiders follow at number 2, also going quarterback with Dante Moore from Oregon, a high-ceiling passer with elite arm talent that Pete Carroll believes can be the long-term answer in Vegas. These quarterback-hungry teams at the top create a ripple effect throughout the rest of the first round, pushing other premium players down the board and creating value for teams picking later. Here's where things get really interesting for Bears fans, And this is the part you need to pay close attention to. At number 3 overall, the Tennessee Titans make a selection that tells us everything about how elite defensive players are being valued in this draft class. Tennessee already addressed quarterback in the previous draft, so they're free to take the best player available regardless of position. And with the 3rd pick in this mock draft, they select linebacker Arvil Reese from Ohio State. Let me tell you about this kid because he's special. Reese is being projected as the best defensive player in the entire 2026 class. A tone setter in the middle of the field with sideline-to-sideline range and true leadership qualities that you can't teach. He's the kind of linebacker who changes the entire complexion of a defense, someone who can diagnose plays before they develop, flow to the football with elite speed and instincts, and deliver punishing hits that set the physical tone for his entire unit. The fact that he's going 3rd overall tells you everything about how scouts view his impact potential at the next level. As we continue through the mock draft, we see more premium defensive talent coming off the board. Edge rushers, cornerbacks, and defensive linemen are being selected throughout the 1st round as teams recognize that building a championship defense requires investment in elite talent. The Washington Commanders take edge rusher Reuben Bain Jr. from Miami at number 8. The Cincinnati Bengals grab David Bailey from Texas Tech at number 9, another explosive edge defender. The Los Angeles Rams select safety Caleb Downs from Ohio State at number 10, landing one of the most talented defensive backs in the class. This trend continues throughout the 1st round, with teams consistently prioritizing defensive playmakers who can impact winning immediately. Now let's talk about where the Chicago Bears fit into all of this. In this particular mock draft, the Bears are projected to be picking at number 25 overall, which would indicate a successful season where we've won enough games to push ourselves into the playoff picture or just outside of it. That's exactly where we want to be as a franchise, competing for championships while still having the opportunity to add high-level talent through the draft. And with the 25th pick in this mock draft, the Bears select edge rusher Romello Height from Texas Tech. This is a pick that makes tremendous sense when you consider our roster construction and where we still need to add talent. Height brings length and upside off the edge, giving Chicago another developmental pass rusher to pair with our existing defensive front. He's got the physical tools that defensive coordinators dream about, the kind of player who can develop into a consistent double-digit sack guy if he reaches his ceiling. Let me break down why this pick makes so much sense for the Bears. Pass rush is the most valuable commodity in modern NFL defense, period. If you can consistently pressure the quarterback without sending extra rushers, you force offenses into quick decisions, create turnovers, and fundamentally change the math of defensive play calling. The Bears have made strides in building our pass rush over recent years, but you can never have too many guys who can get after the quarterback. Height represents the kind of developmental prospect with elite physical traits that our coaching staff can mold into an impact player. He's got the length to set the edge against the run, the athleticism to bend around tackles, and the motor that you want to see from young pass rushers. This is exactly the type of player who could contribute immediately on special teams and in situational pass rushing packages while developing into a full-time starter over his first couple of seasons. What I love about this projection is that it shows the Bears continuing to build through the trenches on both sides of the ball. We've invested heavily in our offensive line in recent drafts, and now we're seeing that same philosophy applied to the defensive front. Championship teams are built from the inside out, dominating the line of scrimmage and imposing their will physically on opponents. By adding a player like Height to our defensive front, we're continuing that process of building a physical, dominant defense that can control games and give our offense opportunities to operate with leads. This is smart, sustainable roster construction that sets us up for long-term success rather than chasing short-term fixes that don't address fundamental needs. It's also worth noting some of the other intriguing picks in this mock draft that could impact the Bears indirectly. The Detroit Lions take offensive tackle Caden Proctor from Alabama at number 17, continuing to reinforce their offensive line and maintain their physical identity. That's a divisional rival getting better, which means we need to match their commitment to building through the trenches. The Green Bay Packers aren't shown in this first round, but you know they're lurking with their typical draft wizardry. And the Minnesota Vikings select cornerback Mansour Delane from LSU at number 12, addressing their secondary needs. The NFC North is going to be an absolute bloodbath for years to come, with all four teams investing heavily in young talent and building rosters capable of sustained success. That's why every draft pick matters, why we can't afford to miss on selections, and why adding a player like Height, who has legitimate starter upside, is so crucial for our championship aspirations. I want to talk about the broader trends we're seeing in this mock draft because they reveal important insights about how NFL teams are approaching roster construction in 2026. Beyond the obvious quarterback investments at the top, there's a clear emphasis on versatile defensive players who can impact multiple phases of the game. Linebackers like Arvell Reese who can cover, rush the passer, and stop the run. Edge rushers who can set the edge and get after the quarterback. Cornerbacks with length and ball skills who can match up against the elite receivers dominating today's passing game. Teams are recognizing that defensive versatility is crucial in an era where offenses are so diverse and creative in how they attack. The Bears selecting Height fits perfectly into this trend, adding a player with the physical tools to contribute in multiple ways and grow into whatever role our defense needs him to fill. Another fascinating aspect of this mock draft is seeing how teams are willing to trade up aggressively for players they believe can be franchise cornerstones. The Jets trading to number 1 for their quarterback, the Giants moving up to grab a dynamic receiver. These are bold moves that show organizations aren't content to sit back and hope the right player falls to them. They're taking control of their destiny and paying the price to secure the players they believe in. That's the kind of aggressive roster management that separates championship organizations from perpetual also-rans. I'm not saying the Bears need to trade up in this particular draft, especially if we're picking at 25 and can still land a player like Height with legitimate upside. But it's good to see that mentality throughout the league where teams are willing to be bold and decisive. Drop all your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, because I love hearing from the most passionate fan base in football and having these conversations with you all. And if you want to stay on top of every Bears development, every draft projection, and every piece of breaking news as we continue building toward championship contention, make sure you're subscribed to Bears News Fan Report and hit that notification bell. I'll be bringing you updates the moment anything happens, along with detailed analysis and insights you won't find anywhere else. This is your home for everything Chicago Bears, and I'm committed to keeping you informed and engaged throughout this entire season and beyond. Bear down, Chicago, and I'll see you in the next video.